What is going on, everybody? Thanks for coming back to Y for Turbo. We are going to be talking about the new gameplay trailer that came out from EA on their YouTube channel, Twitter, etc. for NHL 18. I'm going to try not to cover things that I thought were lacking because this is a first look at the actual gameplay. It's not something that's final. I'm trying to give them the benefit of the doubt for what I kind of see. Maybe, I could poke holes in it. I'm not going to try to do that. I'm just going to try to cover it and give my first excited impressions. Because at the end of the day, we enjoy this game. We wish it had certain things. But let's see what we could use and what is going to come from content. They didn't talk too much about offline modes like GM modes and things like that. But we can still get a lot out of it. First thing I wanted to talk about, which I'm most excited for, which I think is going to be the most fun aspect of the game. I am a very defensive player when it comes to the actual gameplay. Physical, real gameplay, playing as the player. I love playing defense. I love playing, locking position even on defense is a great position in all the sports. Defense is such a great thing. Defense wins championships. And in this new game, we have the defensive skill stick. Now, the biggest reason they say that they created this was to combat the creative AI and deking that they've put into the game. So now you can do, we'll talk a little bit about it later, but basically you can do these new deking moves off the same stick positioning. So it's not so much that you can make that read for the toe drag and you're like, oh, he's going to go right here with the puck, boom. It creates an offense that can possibly come up the ice different every single time, which is really cool, especially on the breakout, which was really hard to get used to in NHL 17. If everyone remembers at the beginning of the year, it was very difficult to get out of the zone just because of how the AI acted and how the actual passing was. So that kind of feeds into that. Using a skill stick on defense is going to be this, I think it's going to be very kind of difficult at first, but then it's going to feel really natural. And I'm really excited for that because it's not just you're having your hands on that right stick just for, going for hits or something like that. You're going to be controlling a stick. And this could actually, I don't know how they're going to program it. It could lead to, maybe more penalties and things like that of undisciplined players. If people are just swinging their stick around and going for trips and legs and things like that. So that might be a cool thing. If it's kind of watered down and only really connects with puck, that could be boring. I hope there's some sort of collision detection in a way. That's something maybe people aren't really talking about too much, but it could add that realism to the game, especially if you can get it stuck between somebody's skates and you pull it out and you can, trip them or something on a breakaway. That would be really cool, actually, if it was that realistic. So that's what I'm most excited about. But that kind of, like I was going to say, goes into the creative AI that they've been talking about in this new trailer. They've been boasting AI is fixed. They've made them smarter. They show this grid with this like green outlet pass off the boards in the trailer, and it looks really cool. In theory, if there's an algorithm running in the AI's head that makes it happen like that, I think it's great. I know I did watch a couple other YouTubers' videos, and a few of them were mentioning if this becomes something that doesn't really work and it just locks down, on the breakout, it could be awful. And on the defensive side, you could be looking at a skill zone constantly. You could be looking at basically just a 1-4 defense all the time. If they're constantly reading the play, trying to stop you, it could actually work against the fun factor of the game. I think it should be okay. We know there's been gameplay patches in the first couple days, different tuners and things that come out, and then it goes silent until around Christmas, sometimes in like November and things like that. But I'm sure it's gonna have its flaws, and they are doing a lot of like beta stuff and things like that. So hopefully they fix it. I'm hoping for the best. I'm trying not to be negative, really hoping for the best, because this could be great if they fix AI. They make it so it's actually like playing a hockey game. There's going to be weird bounces. There's going to be this or that. But there's not going to be the dreaded glitch goals. There's not going to be. So we can have a competitive league. Look at like 2K for basketball. They have a competitive esports league now that's growing. Imagine if we could get a community of esports players, great players that build these teams, use different teams, and go and tour around and play NHL. I mean, that could be huge in Canada or other big hockey countries, even the US to a certain extent. I would love to do that. I would go on the road and cover it. That would be something great. That is one of my biggest things I want to do in my life. I want to become an esports announcer. That would be so fun. And hockey, I know so well. It's just my passion. Can you imagine that? I'm hoping for that. If they can make this game, that's why I'm hopeful. If they can make this game legitimately competitive, where it's fair enough, where it can't be exploited for certain gameplay aspects, and we can make this a competitive game, an esport, we can have a league. Imagine how much that could grow the brand and bring about better YouTube content, better Twitch content. I just started the podcast, the Y480 podcast. Imagine more hockey podcasts based on video games and esports. And we're talking not just about players in the NHL, but players in the NHL or the ENHL or something like that. Imagine if it was league sanctioned, that kind of stuff. Even if you get into convoluted kind of, would Bettman be the commissioner of the ENHL? Like, don't worry about that. Just imagine how cool it would be if you got to fly around and play NHL and that was your job. That's amazing. I know all the big YouTubers are going up to Vancouver right now checking out NHL 18. That's sick. I hope I'm there next year. That would be so cool. But yeah, that was a pretty big thing. Now, getting on to the offensive side, the player-based side, they do boast that the AI is able to do the same kind of thing. They're able to do, obviously, the off-the-boards. We've been doing that for a while. But one-handed dekes are now back. They're back from the old gen. Between the legs, shots and passes, which is pretty cool. That could probably open up. I'm just assuming maybe when you have the people that go full plank in front of the net to break out a pass, if you could just go behind or between your legs and pass it behind their stick. Can you imagine that? That could open up some beauty assists. And even in something like Be a Pro, that would be really cool. I'm running into a lot of that right now with my Be a Pro series, just like trying to get passes through. The current system is, it's weird. It doesn't really pick up certain things. And they say in the video, cheeky puck flips. So kind of like that kind of like Datsukian kind of thing that he ripped off some other player in the KHL or something like that. But, those little pops over the goalie, those are, kind of cool, like cheeky. It's the only word you can really bring to mind when you think about those. That's pretty cool. And I've always kind of thought that would be a good addition and a simple addition. If you could just press one more button while you shoot and it's a little thing that could even help maybe getting past defenses in certain ways, like how we used to do the little jump with the puck, and that could get past certain defenses if they're just poke checking. It could be a cool, more realistic, because nobody jumps off the ice with the puck, and you see that in street hockey sometimes, but you don't see that in the NHL. Very, very rarely is that something that people do, and that's seen more after the play. You're getting clobbered because of you're showing off. So that's mostly on I feel like this, I don't know if it's software or the engine. It's a little bit different. That's the new stuff. So that was my first impression. I mean, I'm hopeful. If this can make the game more competitive, that is great for me, because I'll stop just playing GM mode, because that's all I'm doing right now. I play Hut sometimes on the weekends, but by the way, competitive seasons were a great addition. I thought that was very cool, and I know I've been gone for a long time, haven't been able to talk about it. That was cool. It reminds me of like Overwatch or another one of those games where you build your level or whatever it is. You're not experienced, but you build your overall rank, and that was cool. I felt cool that I got placed in a certain area and I was doing pretty well. It felt like I was accomplished. That leads me to my next point: 3-on-3. 3-on-3 mode is something we've wanted for a long time. Even before it was instated as an overtime rule, it just seemed like a fun mode, and it was something that it's just, can you imagine just like popping into a game? doing this, doing that. And the reason I say it relates to the competitive content was Bacon Country mentioned that, yeah, sure, we can make this just either an offline game mode. Imagine like an NBA Jam. You could pick like 3 superstars to be on the same thing. You know, you could put together something like, imagine like Subban with Crosby and Ovechkin, and you're playing against, you know, 3 other superstars, McDavid, you know, somebody else, Suter and Jamie Benn or something. You know, that'd be kind of a cool little thing where you could kind of create little team compositions, and then whatever goalies, you know, you could pick. I don't think that's going to be happening though, because it's in ESHL, so, or EASHL. So you're playing with other people. So it's not the way they, at least the way they mentioned it, it was mostly just like an online game mode where you just hop in as a pickup game, which is awesome. EASHL is one of the coolest ideas, I think, but it has been watered down in recent years. So a 3-on-3, it's a fresh take. You can hear me kind of sighing. Where's the competitive aspect to it? Other than bragging rights, it's just a pickup game. You know, they haven't released anything yet, and I was reading the Twitter comments on it. People were asking, and they said more info will be released closer to launch. I feel like that might be just a scapegoat, kind of just like, well, nothing's happening, but you'll know when the game comes out. I mean, I don't want to be negative. I told you guys I don't want to be negative, but it seems like it was a little condescending how the at least the EA Sports Twitter was talking about it. It was the EA Help Desk Twitter. They were kind of just saying, just wait for the game to come out. You'll see. After you bought it, you'll see. You know, so that gets me a little alarmed. But if they can make that into a competitive area, or if they can, you know, I'd love to see it even offline. You could play with friends, not just on, you know, EASHL, not just like that. If you could do maybe some side tournaments for pucks or coins, I guess they're called now, in Hut, that would be fun. And, you know, they could have mentioned this after me actually making this video, or I may have missed it. You know, we don't know. We don't know until the game comes out. The only people that know are going to be the people actually in Vancouver right now trying it out, the YouTubers, the influencers, the NHL guys, and, you know, they'll figure it out. But that's my 2 cents. I feel like I'm, you know, kind of the converse to a lot of people who are mentioning that, you know, it's trash right away. I did post on Twitter, well, this looks like something, you know, it's something I didn't really imagine them coming out as like an innovation, you know, oh, you know, you can do these new deeks and things like that. You know, we expect that. I think the biggest innovation is going to be the defensive side skill stick. Maybe not as big as it was when it originally came out back in the day, but you know, it's treading in the right direction. It's adding more user control. You're not just getting these canned animations that happen every time when you do the poke check. When you poke your stick, it gets caught up automatically. You're doing something that's your own creation. So that is treading towards competitive NHL video games. If that's how it is, that's cool with me. And if that's how the public sees it and how the esports organizations see it, you may see this becoming something legitimate, and the world championships aren't, you know, for $1,000 anymore. They go up to $5,000, and then they go up to $25,000, and then $100,000. You know, hockey's a big sport in certain countries, and it's never going to be as big as some of the other sports, you know, especially big sports in America like the NBA and the NFL. But my hope is it will get big. It will get very big. A lot bigger than it is. And I think the first step in that is, you know, look how big 2K and Madden are. Like, they have so much optimization, and I understand, you know, Madden's also EA, and it gets a little bit more love from the developer. But if we just had a game that just worked so well and was so fair and competitive, and it purely depended on the skill, I mean, sure, the skill could be colored a little bit by the team you pick or the players you play with. That will obviously always happen. You're going to be able to snipe with a sniper, deke with a dangler, and you're going to be able to pass with a playmaker. But what I'm saying is, if you're playing with the same team, exact same level of skill on both sides, the best player should win. and that doesn't always happen. And that, that doesn't always happen in hockey either. Weird bounces happen, but it's mostly who wins right now is who knows how to exploit certain things in the game. I know I do. I know that for a couple years, Tuukka Rask had the worst 5-hole in the whole EA catalog, and it was so easy to score 5-hole on him. It didn't make sense. Obviously, things can be said about certain goalies, and I'm not picking on Tuukka, but what I'm just saying is I knew that was an exploit, and I'm not even going to mention glitch goals in that nature. But, it wasn't competitive because there were exploits that could be had, and there still are, and there still are going to be exploits. There are exploits in the biggest esports games out there. I'm a huge proponent for esports, especially when it comes to something I'm passionate about like hockey. So that's my biggest thing. If this update, if this new game makes it worth getting another year's worth of NHL, makes it more competitive, and isn't just a roster update, a $65 roster update, I'm cool with it. I'm very fine with it. It's okay with me, and I'm trying to have a positive outlook. So those are my thoughts. Went a little long-winded there, but you can tell this is something I'm passionate about, and I think it can help the brand and help all you guys watching. Can you imagine? I bet a ton of my viewers are so good at this game, and man, just think of you going out on the road, playing this for money, playing this for your living with other guys on a team. There could be EASHL traveling teams. That would be so cool. And, obviously you could do it from remote locations, but if there are tournaments you got to go to, everybody's up on the stage. Oh, I can picture this in my head, and it's so beautiful and so great. And the esports hockey style jerseys, oh, it would be so cool. So thank you guys for watching. This was just my 2 cents on the new gameplay trailer from EA's NHL 18, and hopefully I get into the beta so we can take a look at it a few weeks, or I guess months earlier, and then of course we're going to grab that in September. So thanks again for watching. Like and subscribe if you dug it. We got tons of GM content, more podcasts, Be a Pros coming. So thank you again. See you next time out in the ice.